Ansible WordPress role. So with help of that, we'll install that in Apache HTTPD, MariaDB server and client, PHP, WordPress, and on that in a web server with help of a Ansible control server. So these architectures are like I have a Windows 10 PC. On top of that, I have installed the Vagrant VirtualBox, and then in that VirtualBox, I have a like an Ansible control server and then web server, and inside that in web server we are going to provision that in HTTPD, MariaDB server client, PHP, and WordPress, and on basis of that we'll access that in a WordPress site with help of a Internet Explorer. So in a demo part, already we have already talked like in Playbook in a number of times. So what I'm going to use in earlier previous lectures, we have used that in Git, and now I'm going to use that in Ansible hyphen WordPress role, and we'll talk these roles one by one in file and folders in details, because for these ones we have so many like in template we have files, we have others as well, so we'll see in details. So just we have to perform the same similar command like in Ansible hyphen Playbook hyphen I host and playbook.yml and the verbose mode, and then after that you'll able to see something like in results. So let's go and do it. Same server I have used it where we have installed that in Git in previous one, and same server I'm using like this is the Ansible control server, but now the example will be there 3.1 underscore point 1, and here we have a WordPress example one. So if I'll see that in 3, so here we'll get that in Ansible hyphen WordPress meta main.yml readme and task database.yml, which is database related activity, main.yml web server and WordPress and template, that is a template of a PHP with help of a Jinja 2 and VRs we have, and we are calling this role into the Playbook and host file. We'll go in more details in this file a bit later, and what I'll do, I'll include this all those file in a download section, so you can download as it is and you can run it. So what we have a command, we have a command called Ansible hyphen Playbook space hyphen I space host and the playbook.yml hyphen the command. So let me go and see that in nothing is there other than that in Git in this server. So before that, one more thing just I want to let you know. So let's say if I'm hitting this IP address in web server, nothing is there. Now I'm going to perform the Ansible command. So the command will be remaining same what we have performed in past, like in Ansible hyphen Playbook, uh, space hyphen I space host space playbook.yml, and let's run that in with less debug mode as well. So you don't want to see that much of a log. So it says started web server gathering packets done, and then I started that in roles Ansible hyphen WordPress installing EPL done, and YAM utility and EPL PHP 7.3 done, and I started installing the PHP and other package. This will be take few more minutes because we have 4-5 PHP related package. We'll see in details. For executing any example, most of that in in any demo we need definitely internet, otherwise it will not work, because maximum software is downloading from that in internet only. So make sure you have internet connectivity before running this. Yeah, it's installing in between. Let's go and talk that in file structures. So I'll be there in here. We got that in a Playbook. In the Playbook, just we have changed that in a Ansible WordPress role, and after that we have a host file. Inside that in a host file just we have defined that in web, and then we have a IP address of a web server, and then under we have a roles folder. Under the roles we have Ansible WordPress, but inside that now we have a readme, so we can put that in readme. We have a meta, so inside the meta we have meta related syntax, which is galaxy info, Ansible WordPress role, author, versions, and so on and so forth details. Like in web database and WordPress we are going to install it. And then we have a next folder is a task. So inside the task we have a database, main, web server, and WordPress. Let's go one by one. In database we have a database installations MariaDB. So what is happening, first task, it's a package MariaDB server state present, meaning installing that in a MariaDB, but tag is there in a database. So after that we have install MariaDB client, which again we have a MariaDB state present and database. So there is a client and server, we have a different set. If you see here we have MariaDB hyphen server, and only here we have a MariaDB. After that install MySQL Python package. So Python package, second one we have a service for restart enable yes. Then it's pausing for 11 seconds and ignoring yes, and that in again in the database tag. After that in checking that in MySQL admin root status, and change when false and something, and registering with a root password, because we want to use this variable value into that in a later. Set MariaDB root password for the first time. So with help of this module we can set that in root password. We have to just provide that in host state present and password and name, and remove the anonymous database which is like in other than the database which is not required. So with help of a MySQL user you can do it. Just you have to pass the blank login user root, login password, password and host file, and database. Again you have a MySQL DB for removing the test database, and then we have a creating WordPress database with a root user. So MySQL DB WordPress database present login root and so on and so forth, and creating WordPress user give him that in privilege to WordPress. So with help of a MySQL underscore user module it will be create that in WordPress users, and we are just providing the all, and to that in a login password and that in MySQL password. Again the tag is there with a database. After that we have him let's say web server. So inside that in web server we are installing the package httpd, making sure that is present, and tag we are using that in a web server. Similarly we have a service and making sure that service is enabled and restarted. Then we have a enable http service on remote host with help of that, and making sure that tag is there, and then again service and enabling that in firewall and state restarted enable is equal to yes for web server. And then we have a WordPress. So in WordPress, what we are doing, we are downloading the WordPress from that in https // wordpress.org and latest zip, and putting into the temp WordPress zip file. And now we have a tag as a WordPress. We have a one zip utility which is on archive, and with source whatever is their destinations and copy no and so and so forth. Then we have a command module. Under the command module just we are executing the cp command, which is copy, and copying that in current directory to that in your /vr www/html, and making sure wp underscore setting.php created. And after that we are copying that in a config.php file to that in /var /www html with a wp hyphen config.php, and changing that in user as a root and mode as a 7. But we have a tag now WordPress. So if you go to that in a main, now we will be able to see that in all three are included. So we have in here we are just executing that in installing that in EPL release and EM utility, which is EPL EM utility, and REMI release 7. Then that will consider as a tag as a PHP, and then we have a EM config manager enabling for PHP 7.3, and installing PHP and other package like in PHP hyphen common, MySQL, PHP hyphen GD, XML, my, and so on and so forth. And then we are configuring the including that in a database, which is database.yml. Then we are including that in web server. Then again we are putting the tag as a web server. Again we are doing the download and configure WordPress. Then WordPress .yml, and tag is a WordPress. What is next? Under that we have a template. So inside that in template just we have with help of this template, it will be read that in all details, like in especially user ID, DB name, DB user, DB password, DB host, and other as a template. And this file will be created into the PHP config, which once we talk about that in uh, in previous one. Then we have a VR. So under the VR, we are setting that in different variables, like in MySQL root password, WordPress underscore database name, WordPress underscore DB user, and WordPress underscore DB pass, and host local host. So we can change, if you want, you can change that in as per your convenient. I have just did that in this one. And that's all about in that in role. Let's go and see that in what is happening into that in a console. Yeah, so still yeah, all done. And copy WordPress file into that in Apache. So you can say that in all these tasks into that in details. And what happened altogether, 27 tasks executed, and 18 got changed, and rest of that. So now with help of that, if I'll go and open the browser and just hit that in enter, here we go. So now we got that in our WordPress site up and running. So just make a like in your test, user copy this password and put that in email address, and just click on the install. WordPress site got installed success. Then we can just choose that in a username or email address and paste the password, whatever we copy that in previous. And here we go, admin screen, administration screen of a WordPress site. We can go and post that in our one site. Let's say I'm just going to edit that, this one only, and just change that in here. Ansible role example, just update. And if you do the preview, here we go. So now we got that in Ansible role example. Yeah, so almost everything was automated with help of Ansible. So what happened if I'll rerun it? So whatever's already installed, it will be not done, but few modules and activity it will be done again. And installing PHP and other packages. So if you say that in it's saying that in already install, and green one nothing to be do, but EPL especially copy the files related stuff like in command, it will perform. Yeah, installing MariaDB, it's already saying that it's already there. MariaDB client already there, MySQL package already there, and making sure that configuration is enabled on server side. And it's pausing for like 11 seconds, or we can put the control C. Set MariaDB root password, because we have already set, and this is that in message we have printed. So it's saying that using password, no, it's not allowing and ignoring. And setting the user, removing the anonymous user database, and so on and so forth. Start and enable HTTP, done. Enable HTTP service on remote host, downloading and configuring WordPress, it's saying that in already done. Unzip, copy, and all done. Now only 4 tasks is changed, and rest 24 is all okay. So there is a no unreachable and failed. So due to that, we are getting that result, and there is nothing required to do. If I'll go and hit that in our website, still it's up and running. So that's all about in this lecture, and thanks for watching.